So I've got 5 more new updates on the Galaxy S26 Ultra, including some good news, unless your name is Samsung. Let's get into it. What's up guys, Sal here. So first off, remember how we heard the Galaxy Unpacked event might slip to February 25th? Well, a new report says the delay might not be that dramatic after all. They say Samsung could still pull off a late January Unpacked with retail sales happening mid-February. For reference, the S25 dropped on January 22nd, so realistically, we're looking at maybe a 1-week delay at most. Apparently, the slight shuffle happened because Samsung decided to bring back the Plus model at the last minute. But now that everything's sorted internally, the timeline seems mostly intact. So yeah, the final week of January is still very much in play. Moving on, we have some interesting camera details for the S26 Ultra. A reliable tipster says Samsung is finally giving people something we've been asking for years, something Apple already does. See, Samsung has a 200 megapixel main sensor, but still defaults to 12 megapixel photos. Yes, you can switch to 50 or even 200 megapixels, but out of the box is 12 megapixels. Meanwhile, iPhones default to 24 megapixel in both normal and portrait mode, which gives Apple an edge in fine detail. Well, Samsung wants to fix that with the S26 Ultra, kind of. They're moving to 24 megapixel default shots too, not just for regular photos, but also for portrait shots. But there's one catch. You need to download Samsung's Camera Assistant app and turn the setting on manually. It's Samsung's own app, not some random third-party thing, and it unlocks extra controls like automatic lens switching, extra HDR options, and other features Samsung hides by default. So yes, we're finally getting 24 megapixel images as the default experience, but only if you grab the extension and flip the switch yourself. Speaking of the Camera Assistant app, it's also getting more upgrades. One of the big additions is a focus speed slider for both photo and video. If this is what it sounds like, you'll be able to control how fast the camera shifts focus between subjects. That's basically the smartphone version of the manual focus pulls you see on real cinema cameras. If Samsung nails it, that's a huge win for video. No more sudden focus jumps that ruin the moment. There will also be a toggle to shut off HDR10+ and stick to regular HDR, along with Adaptive Pixel, which works by combining multiple lower resolution frames into a single high resolution image. In theory, you get low noise, more detail, and better lighting because the camera blends several exposures together. Now, the tipster also shared the camera specs for the S26 Ultra. The only new hardware addition is a new 12 megapixel 3x telephoto lens. Samsung used a 10 megapixel sensor before, so it's technically an upgrade. The main camera and the periscope camera are also getting bigger apertures, which explains the noticeably bigger camera bump this year. Now, iCineverse still insists that Samsung will crop that new 12 megapixel sensor down to 10 megapixels and upscale to 12 megapixels. The funny part is Samsung already did this on the S25 Ultra. It would honestly be more surprising if they didn't repeat it, so we'll have to wait and see how Samsung handles this one. Next, if we're still confused about the battery and charging speed, the certifications coming out of China cleared it up again. It's still a 5000 mAh battery with 60-watt charging. Some rumors floated around saying Samsung was bumping it to 5400 mAh, but that's clearly not happening. Now recently, a report from South Korea made waves claiming that Samsung was considering putting Exynos 2600 in the S26 Ultra as well, just like the S26 and S26 Plus, depending on the region. Turns out that might not happen after all. A new report out of South Korea, backed by a couple of tipsters with solid track records, is now saying the S26 Ultra is going Snapdragon only worldwide. Even Qualcomm hinted that most of the S26 lineup will be Snapdragon, which strongly hints that the S26 Ultra stays Snapdragon only. Does that guarantee it? Well, no. Nothing is 100% until Samsung says it. But based on the latest info, the Snapdragon only Ultra is looking more and more likely. And look, Exynos 2600 is actually shaping up well. in Geekbench is keeping up with Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Samsung even officially confirmed that the Exynos 2600 runs about 30% cooler than last year thanks to a new heat pass block design. If that's true, that's huge because thermals and throttling are exactly where Samsung fell short before. Right now, everything sounds great on paper, but this is Exynos we're talking about. Their history is not great. So I'm taken, I believe it when I see it approach. They've disappointed people too many times to get the benefit of the doubt. Now, if the S26 Ultra ends up being Snapdragon only, Samsung loses a lot of potential revenue. They're expecting to sell around 20 to 25 million units of the S26 Ultra. That's a massive chunk of money not using their own chip. But the truth is simple. If Samsung proves Exynos can genuinely compete, deliver great thermals, avoid throttling, and even provide better ISP, people will be a lot more open to having it on the S27 Ultra next year. Samsung just has to deliver. Now, if you want 5 more updates on the S26 Ultra, then check out this video right here, and I'll see you there.